Good day to everyone. So me and my group are going to show situations that demonstrates freedom of choice and their consequences of their actions. But before we show our situations, let us first have a small definition of terms on these words. Okay, so for our definition of terms, we have freedom of choice. What is freedom of choice? Freedom of choice, it refers to the person's ability to decide or act accordingly to their own will without being forced. However, it is important to realize that the choices you make or we make have a corresponding consequences. And for our second definition of terms, what is consequences? Consequences, these are the results of our actions, and it includes great responsibility on this. These consequences can be positive or negative depending on the decision that we have made. So for our first situation, choosing to study or not to study for an exam. Imagine you have a big exam next week. You can choose to study or spend your time on social media or doom scrolling on your phone. Now, in this situation, a student has two choices, either to study or not to study and just play mobile games or scroll on their social media. Now, here's the twist. When a student chooses to study, it shows great responsibility and discipline because studying helps them understand and remember lessons better. It makes them feel more prepared for the exam, and they can gain higher grades and confidence when they study. However, if a student chooses not to study and spends time on games or scrolling through their phone, it may feel fun at first. However, this can lead to low grades, stress during exams, disappointments from either parents or teachers, and regret for not using or spending their time wisely. Now, these are the consequences of the action of either you study or not to study. When you study, this choice can lead to higher grades and a sense of accomplishment and confidence in their abilities. Now, if you choose not to study, then this choice can cause low grades, confusion during the exam, stress, and even disappointment from your teachers and your parents. So this situation shows that success in school is not merely by chance. Dili biya ni chamba dili chamba ang maging honor. It takes hard work and responsibility para ma-achieve nimo ang high grades. It also depends on the choices we make and how we prioritize our responsibilities. Let us always remember that wise decisions lead to good results, while reckless or careless choices can lead to many problems ahead of us.
So for situations, we have a student forgets to do their homework and notice that their seatmate has already finished the assignment. The student must decide whether to copy the answer or honestly admit that they were unable to complete the task. Choosing to copy may save the student from immediate embarrassment, but it develops dependency and dishonesty. If discovered, it can lead to disciplinary action and loss of trust. On the other hand, choosing to admit the mistake may result in a lower grade, but it builds accountability and encourages better time management in the future. Basically, this situation shows that taking responsibility for one's mistakes leads to growth, while dishonesty only creates bigger problems, so we must be honest.
Third situation is joining barkada pressure. So, a teenager is invited by their barkada to skip classes or cut classes and hang out at the mall. So, the student must decide whether to join them or to attend classes. So, choosing to join may bring temporary enjoyment and acceptance from friends, but it can result absences, disciplinary actions, and falling behind in lessons. So choosing to attend class instead may feel difficult at first, but it shows independence and responsibility towards one's education. So these situations highlights that true friends should not require sacrificing one's responsibilities or future.
In situation for respecting the parents' advice or ignoring it. So our situation here is a parents advise their child to come home early and focus on schoolwork, but the children wants to stay out late with friends. The child must choose whether to follow their parents' guidance or ignore it. So the explanation is following parents' advice often protect the child from possible danger and show respect for family authority. Ignoring it may be lead to conflict at home and broke trust and even unsafe situation. So our conclusionary statement is this situation emphasizes the freedom within the family still requires respect, obedience, and consideration of consequence.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will talk about freedom of choice, focusing on situation 5, which is using allowance wisely or spending it impulsively. This situation shows how our choices can affect our daily life and personal growth. In this situation, as students receive a weekly allowance, the student has the freedom to decide how to use the money. They can either budget it for important needs like food, transportation, and school materials, or spend it impulsively on things like milk tea, online shopping, or other unnecessary items. This shows that even small, everyday choices require careful thought. This situation demonstrates freedom of choice because no one is forcing the student. How to spend the money, the decisions is entire theirs, and they must accept the consequences of their choice. Freedom of choice is not just about doing whatever we want. It also means being responsible for our decision. If the students spends their allowance carelessly, there are negative consequences. They may run out of money before the week ends. They might not have enough for food or transportation. This can cause stress and regret. And it can also develop poor financial habits over time. On the other hand, if the students budgets the allowance wisely, the consequences are positive. They will have enough money for their needs. They learn the responsibility and develop financial discipline. They may even be able to save a little for emergencies. Wise spending helps build independence and good habits. And in conclusion, freedom of choice means having the power to decide. However, every choice comes with consequences. Even small decisions like managing allowance can shape our character and our future. This situation teaches us to think carefully before making decisions and to take responsibility for the outcomes. Thank you.
Situation 6. Responding calmly or angrily during conflict. The situation. During a disagreement, a person chooses whether to respond calmly or react with anger. Explanation. A calm response encourages understanding and peaceful resolution, while an angry reaction may escalate the conflict and damage relationship. Conclusionary statement. This situation demonstrates that choosing emotional control leads to healthier relationship and better outcomes.